What if the most powerful testimony in a courtroom didn't come from a witness, a lawyer, or a judge, but from a man who's been gone for nearly a decade? That's exactly what happened on day 3 of one of the most explosive and highly scrutinized celebrity trials in recent history. As the third day unfolded, what began as a routine continuation of legal proceedings turned into a moment so stunning, so unprecedented, that it left the entire courtroom breathless. When the voice of Prince, yes, that Prince, filled the room, it didn't just echo from a speaker, it dropped like a thunderclap. And for Sean Diddy Combs, it was the moment everything changed. The courtroom had been buzzing since early morning. From the moment the courthouse doors opened, reporters, spectators, and insiders could sense something was different. Journalists raced to secure front-row seating. Court sketch artists sharpened pencils like they were preparing for battle. There was tension, but no one quite knew why. At first glance, it seemed like just another day in a celebrity trial. Expensive suits, hurried whispers, legal teams reviewing notes. But then you noticed the security. It wasn't just tighter, it was doubled. 4 uniformed officers flanked the defendant's table alone. The extra presence wasn't explained, but everyone noticed. Diddy entered the room as he had on previous days, poised, polished, and playing the part of a man fully in control of his destiny. He flashed a confident smile at a familiar face in the gallery. His navy suit was custom-tailored, his posture straight, his energy calm. To the untrained eye, he looked unshakable. His legal team surrounded him like a wall, leaning in with quiet strategy sessions and synchronized movements. On the surface, he was every bit the titan he's always portrayed himself to be. But that morning, beneath the surface, something was stirring, something even he didn't see coming. The prosecution table looked different, too. 2 tech specialists quietly rolled in unfamiliar audio equipment, gear that hadn't been used during the first 2 days. They tested connections discreetly, exchanged nods, and handed a small black device to the lead prosecutor. The room stirred with low whispers. Something big was coming. You could feel it like static in the air. Rumors spread in hushed tones. Courtroom reporters texted colleagues across the aisle with wide eyes and incomplete theories. No one had a full picture, just tension. And then the judge entered. After the usual formalities, the judge did something unusual. He looked around the courtroom with a pause that carried weight. "I want to remind everyone present," he said slowly, "that regardless of what evidence is presented today, I expect complete composure in my courtroom." He didn't elaborate. He didn't need to. His words floated over the room like a warning. And then it began. The prosecution calmly stood and addressed the court. "Your Honor, at this time, the government would like to present a piece of critical audio evidence recently authenticated by our forensic team." She held up the black recording device, its unassuming appearance betraying the bomb it was about to drop. The defense immediately objected, citing lack of prior notice, but the judge was firm. "The evidence was submitted during discovery. The prosecution may proceed." And proceed they did, with a line that stopped time itself. "What you're about to hear," the prosecutor announced, "is the final private recording made by Prince Rogers Nelson before his death." The silence was instant and suffocating. You could hear the scratch of a pen stop mid-sentence. A woman near the back gasped audibly. In the front row, a man's hands trembled so visibly his pen hit the floor. And at the defense table, Diddy's entire body seemed to freeze. His jaw tensed, his eyes narrowed. And then, for the first time in 3 days, the mask slipped. The audio began. "I'm making this recording because I don't know who to trust anymore," Prince said. His voice was quiet, intimate, and completely unguarded, worlds apart from the electrifying performer the public remembered. He wasn't singing, he wasn't posturing, he was documenting. He spoke of gatherings at Diddy's properties, private rooms, separated guests, strange behavior that always felt staged. "What happens at these parties isn't just wrong, it's criminal," Prince said. His tone carried weight. And it wasn't just what he said, it was how he said it. Slow, measured, like someone with nothing left to lose and everything to reveal. The prosecution let the tape roll uninterrupted. Diddy's legal team leaned in, whispering urgently. One attorney slid a yellow notepad toward Diddy, hoping to create a barrier between him and the jurors who were now watching him closely, but it was too late. Diddy's eyes were wide, his mouth slightly open, his fingers twitched on the tabletop. The man who had spent years building an empire through image control was unraveling in real time. Then it happened. Midway through the recording, as Prince began recounting specific events from December 2015, events corroborated by witness testimony and digital evidence, Diddy exploded. "That's a lie!" he shouted, standing up so abruptly that his chair scraped backward. His voice echoed through the courtroom like a gunshot. A reporter in the front row jolted visibly. One juror dropped their pen. 4 security officers immediately moved closer to the defense table. The judge pounded his gavel so hard it left a dent. "Mr. Combs, control yourself or I will hold you in contempt." And just like that, the mask was gone. Diddy sat down again, his chest rising and falling. His face was pale. His hands trembled. His attorneys crowded around him in full crisis mode. The outburst hadn't just broken protocol. It had shattered the entire narrative his defense team had spent 3 days constructing. And the recording, it wasn't over. Prince continued. He spoke of NDAs, payouts, people who were paid to stay silent. He named names. He described how young artists were separated from their teams, led into rooms where they couldn't say no. He mentioned financial amounts, $2 million here, $1.3 million there, figures that matched the exact records the prosecution had introduced earlier in the week. One by one, the dots connected. The courtroom wasn't just listening anymore. It was spellbound. The judge, the jury, the press. Everyone knew they were witnessing a turning point. And Diddy? He was sweating through his suit. One of his attorneys offered him water. He declined. Another slid him a pen and a pad. He stared at it blankly. No one needed to say it aloud. They were watching a collapse. Immediately after the recording ended, the defense filed an emergency motion to exclude the audio from evidence. The reasoning? Prince wasn't alive to confirm its context or allow for cross-examination. But the prosecution was prepared. They had spent 4 months authenticating the file. 3 separate forensic audio specialists had signed off. Chain of custody was airtight. The judge didn't hesitate. Motion denied. And then came the quiet aftershock. The realization that the prosecution had planned this. From the very beginning, they'd held this bombshell back. Let Diddy feel safe. Let the media attention cool after opening statements. Then, when his guard was down, they struck. It was a masterclass in timing, strategic, psychological, devastating. Prince's recording hadn't just introduced new evidence, it had validated everything already presented. Financial records, texts, witness testimony. It confirmed suspicions that had lingered in whispers for years. It brought clarity to confusion, order to chaos. And it did something no living witness could. It forced the court to listen without interruption, without bias, without fear. But perhaps the most chilling part was what Prince said at the very end. "If anything happens to me, make sure this gets to the right people. This isn't just about protecting myself. It's about protecting everyone who hasn't been able to speak up." Those words hit harder than any accusation. They were a warning, a plea, a legacy, and they left everyone in the courtroom wondering, what else is in that vault? Because if one recording could bring a courtroom to its knees, what happens if there's more? In the hours following the hearing, the courthouse buzzed with tension. Legal analysts called it one of the most explosive moments in celebrity trial history. TV networks scrambled to update coverage. Hashtags trended, pundits speculated, but the defense, they were reeling. Their motion had failed. Their client had lost control. Their narrative had imploded, and the jury had seen every second of it. As the trial continued into the afternoon, the prosecution methodically tied Prince's statements to their existing timeline. Exhibits, testimonies, photographic evidence, every piece fit tighter now. The foundation was stronger than ever, and the man once seen as untouchable now looked like he couldn't breathe. By the end of the day, Diddy's legal team filed a second motion. this time to delay proceedings. They cited emotional distress and the need to regroup. The judge refused. "This trial will continue without delay," he ruled sternly, "and I expect no further disruptions." No one said it aloud, but everyone understood. Diddy had been outplayed. He'd entered the courtroom with power, but he left that day with panic in his eyes and the weight of a ghost's testimony hanging over him. And so the trial continues, but one thing is now certain. Nothing will be the same again, because the most powerful man in the room isn't even alive anymore. And that voice, clear, calm, and impossible to ignore, might have just changed everything. Changed everything.